Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and Third Reich events installed. We are continuing the invasion of Britain, Operation Sea Lion. Yes, this is Operation Sea Lion 1943, not 1940, but I was just looking earlier today and maybe want to get a book or two, though. Never cheap, but on a sort of wargaming, a fictitious British Civil War circa 1938. I'm thinking that might be a good for a mod for Hearts of Iron 4 because it's in the right. Oh, bloody this thing again. Okay, yes, we have control of them. No, we've won there. That's good. That could have a lot of material potentially for events and unit types. Don't know if you think people would be interested. And obviously there was no English Civil War in 1938, but there was various problems in Britain, including, and I don't have all the details right in my head, but some major coal workers strikes and a few other things like that that could have really erupted into significant violence. So, but I don't, that you could take some of the material from that and create events that won't necessarily cause the Civil War, but would be challenging for a British player leading up. You know, not just, oh, hey, we start, 36, we start building to face Hitler. No, it's like, oh, I've got domestic problems, can't do everything I want to do, what's going on and how to deal with it, kind of thing. Just as a, sort of like Third Reich events thing, or whether you go to set up a whole very British Civil War, and I'm thinking not as a, like a, because there have been standalone Spanish Civil War type stuff, and there's a very good mod out there that deals with a post-World War One Turkish-Greek small-scale thing. I'm thinking of something that, in the lead up to the Great, World War, might have a break out a English Civil War. That might be an interesting mod. It'd be more along the lines of, if I was going to do it, Tanganyika, in that it takes his historical conditions and creates an unhistorical thing as opposed to a mainline English events mod. I don't know if you guys think it might be something people would want to play. Consider that. Okay. Direct fire unit training has advanced. Direct fire unit training, okay. I was looking earlier and I want to move a few of these over to there's cruiser crew training. These guys are way out of date, some of these techs, and infantry unit command and control. Okay. Now that we're getting to 44. Battleship crew training. I don't know, just something to think about. Oh, reload. God, look at this mess. We've got lots of units in there. Oh look, I'm still scrolling down on all this. Okay. Dealing with Africa there as well. I'm gonna drop these guys in. Assault. Need to combine these units so that I can load them on and we're airborne assaulting them as well. Okay, artillery unit training. Okay, so the only ones that we're pushing into 44, we're still just in July 43, are recon units, because just about everybody has a recon unit as part of their thing, and also the organization from my garrisons and police and whatnot. That sounds appropriate. Light crew training or carrier crew. We'll do carrier crew. Okay, we have a bunch of new. Okay, some transport. We're starting to build back up on the manpower. That's good. As a lot of you have been suggesting, we're really building up the air power here, including an extra units of carrier air. Got a reactor building. Some more industry coming up. Lots of fighters. Very big Luftwaffe. Lots of bombers. Okay, one more light carrier. I think we'll do that. Really planning on avoiding most combat. Naval combat, that is. Destroyers coming along. Rocket battleships. few more light forces. Yeah, that'll help, I think. Okay. Uh-oh. The 48's is shattered. I wasn't paying close enough attention there. Oh. It's central AQ's here. We're still nothing like the Soviets. I'm not really complaining, it's just commenting. Still have a little bit of supply issues with the ports. This is now the primary port for supply. They're not seeming to be able to hold anywhere except for this London encirclement here. Okay, seaport capabilities. That's nice. We have a few decisions we need to hit. Okay, yeah, road and seaport. So that will take up some ICs, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay. Still somewhat holding out on a few of those. Shortly. Build a few more ICs as well. Building them out here just because they're in core territories, but they are not gonna, I mean, now that we're taking this, it's not gonna really be threatened by bombing, but just getting a bit more production set up there. That'll help. We need more convoys. We're just gonna keep expanding that. There we go. Oh, they may be about ready to collapse. Their airborne division about the only thing that's still working. Still fighting. No, we don't want that fuel at this time. And we'll see. The last home of the Druids. Okay, we've just taken London. London has fallen. We can look at the victory point. We still got, let's see, they've got 5 points there, 5 there, 5, 5, 5. So we're not going to surrender just yet, but it's going to get close, I think. I realize we've already taken a lot of provinces around the British Isle type possessions as well. Hopefully we're going to continue. This is chief victory, yes. We've taken London, we've gotten enough. Okay, so 2.2 to 2.4 for money and resources. National unity the same, but 2.2 to 2.4 for organization regain rate. And battleship armor has advanced now. Okay, so we've got armor and engine ups as far as we need to go. Oh, there we go. Well, got a lot of men in there with more experience now. Well, he's just level 4. And we'll walk you down and take that. Oh man, everything is destroyed in London. Just literally everything. Those won't rebuild. The rest, well, don't know about those either, but a lot of those will in time, but that fight was enough to tear London apart. Okay, let's see. Fighting a bunch of various air forces, and they all disappeared. Oh, finally won in Liverpool. I don't know about any of you guys, but I've had, got up to around here with the great bulk of the army and then had the U.S. counter invade down here and made me shift my forces once. I'm not saying they're going to do it this time, but it's happened. Could happen again. Okay, amphibious light armor has improved. Probably good enough. Let's see, medium velocity gun. And we'll do the short barrel HE gun, I think. Well, we got even more. We got a bunch more research we could do. That just kills that manpower and supplies. And we have not really looking at much likelihood of a major air offensive. The U.S. has lost its bases in Europe. So I don't think we're going to be facing one of those anytime soon. And we're building lots of air. We may lose a bunch of, or we may need a bunch of escorts once we're escorting near to the U.S. I don't know. Now, we have the militia I'm going to leave. We've got the good infantry division there. We already moved the garrisons out. That'll work as a garrison. Not quite sure what it, probably it's a remnant of something. Not them up. Oh, they're too big to go on. So we'll send them over there. Heavy artillery. But their U-guns coming over. Try to get in on the last little bit of this. We already moved the... Oh, I did. We need to get a few of the... I don't know. It's better than that. Now, I'm going to send these guys. They're going to do a not very dangerous channel dash, of course, seeing as how there's no British shipping in the area and no air power to intercept them, and I'm going to send down a couple garrison divisions there and occupy the islands. Oh, Darjeeling. Okay, now what do we build with 122 ICs? Well, I guess anything we want, but what should we build? We're getting a bunch of radar stations. I'm trying to set these up. They're not built yet. A little older of a base, so now they've got some radar and an air base because we can. No, they won't even go on. Oh, their weight is way too heavy to get out to the British Isles. What's their weight? Probably also way too heavy. Yeah, so never mind. Okay, well, I'll get some other garrison divisions out there soon. Well, these guys tangled with somebody at some point. Convoy raiding and didn't do so well. It's like the guys that I had out of here disappeared. The mini subs. I'm gonna think about this for a minute or two here while we continue to overrun. That's a major air battle. Okay, well, looks like the RAF is having troubles. Okay, somebody came out here to... Come on, everybody, keep up, keep going forward. Don't get left behind. You want to be in on the kill. So they moved the capital up to Newcastle. Oh, interesting. Well, we're going to put you in B-base for a little while. Get you organized up. I think they would have moved it up to Edinburgh if they were leaving it on Great Britain. Better defensible place, Edinburgh. Not right now, I see, but I think it would have been. Well, let's do a few more of these. Help us get across the Atlantic there. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Since we're doing so well right now, this is going to take a bunch of ICs. Okay. We'll be pulling, I presume, a few units from England or getting ready to go to England. But I think we're overrunning them well enough right now. So Windhound is definitely up there, so we're going to lose that. Well, that picture is getting squished, but now, as you can see, these are huge IC. Takes a lot of those up briefly. Let's do the field Herrenhalle. Now that was an attempt. I'm not really sure how much the 60th Division going back early war is an SA unit, if you will. But once Victor Lutz dies in a car accident, just driving around Germany, coming back from the countryside, they were his family was doing a, if it's reported correctly, and if I remember correctly, doing some food gathering in the countryside, in the forests, from what I understand, maybe hunting or you know, gathering berries or whatever, gleaning stuff off the countryside. He had driven out there with his family to get food. You know, he's head of the SA, fairly powerful guy, but everybody's living on rations, and so I think it was somewhere out of Greater Berlin, but drove out there for like a day in the country, and on his way back, if I'm not mistaken, has a car accident and dies. Well, and I'm forgetting the guy who replaced him. I think we have an event covering that. I'm not absolutely sure right offhand. Really starts to work because Victor was not really liked by a lot of the SA members because he was very loyal to Hitler. He, if I'm remembering everything correctly, rode with Hitler and the SA guys to go arrest Ernst Röhm, and he was sort of one of the accusers of the so-called plot of Ernst Röhm to overthrow Hitler. There might have been a, because he hasn't died here yet, Victor Lutz. There might have been a eventual coup against, not really even against Hitler. It would have been, it's really, I think, sort of a coup against the government to force Hitler to continue the Nazi revolution. Röhm was a revolutionary. He was a, you know, I don't know. So he was definitely of the left element of the Nazi Party, which another person I would put there was Joseph Goebbels. Especially if you look at Joseph Goebbels' propaganda starting definitely by 44. It's very, very left-wing, very, very populist propaganda that he's putting out. And he's getting on the radio more and more in person. And Ernst Röhm had a very similar view. He wanted a nationalist, a national socialist revolution, not, I don't think, in a communistic manner in which like they were going to take over the major factories or whatnot, but definitely gain more government control over them than what they had. But he also hated the Prussian officer corps, and one of the elements of it was to replace the army with the SA as being the army and transfer all the men and equipment to the SA and put it under his control. But it wasn't just as I understand it, pushing for a power grab that way. He wanted to, shall we say, continue the National Socialist revolution. He thought that Hitler's getting power the way he did instead of in a revolution but being appointed chancellor was sort of selling out the Nazi revolution just to get power. And remember, at that time, Hindenburg was still alive, the Night of the Long Knives, so Rome wanted to get all those guys out of government and have a pure Nazi government. Would he have been happy with what had happened, what actually did happen with Hitler? You know, once Hindenburg dies, Hitler continues a sort of soft Nazi revolution, co-opting in groups like the Army and the Navy, as well as various civil governmental organizations, and the definitely most of it happened after Rome's death. The, shall we say, rationalization, I forget the German word, a few of you have used it, about making everything the same in Germany, you know, standardizing things like the language, but also laws and reasonable governmental boundaries, because before, where Prussia was, you know, Prussia's here, Prussia's out here, Prussia's, you know, little places around, you know, the Prussian government was a weird, spotty government, you know, one little town here or part of a province over here, this kind of stuff. Rationalized the stuff, the, you know, the organization within the German Reich. Would he have been satisfied that that would have been the Nazi revolution? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think he was ever really planning on replacing Hitler, but he wanted to get rid of a few of the key Nazis around Hitler, but also get rid of the key non-Nazis, people like Franz von Papen. Wanted to get rid of them because he thought that they had corrupting influence on Hitler. So it would have been a coup, or a putsch, to use a more German word for it. And I do believe that there was rumblings and talking about it within the SA. I don't know how much of that was Rome versus some of the other radicals. Well, I don't know a lot about Victor's character, whether he was a member of the SA but wasn't a revolutionary in that sense, or whether he was particularly a Hitler partisan, or just simply a toady looking for power. But he put in his loyalty with Hitler and cooperated with the elimination of a lot of the upper levels of the SA. And so this made him very unpopular with the SA itself, the membership. There was definitely a program to reduce the size of the SA from 1933 to around 1935. Get rid of a lot of the older World War I veterans, because you no longer need a huge revolutionary army. Keep a lot of the young, spirited guys sort of employed within the SA. Keep employment from being too big. And you couldn't at that time, 33 through 35, 36. Germany was still under a lot of the pressures of the Versailles Treaty and couldn't just expand its army, and so you can have a huge paramilitary SA, but 3 million men strong, down from 5 or 6 million. But you can't just move them into the army, so you had to keep them there. And Victor was a very trusted person by Hitler to manage that. I mean, Hitler officially is the head of the SA, but the chief of staff, Oberstführung, Victor, was the de facto head. And I don't know if he just didn't have the power, or if he just started if he was worried that if he started within the Nazi hierarchy, push for a bigger role for the SA, that he was afraid that it would look to Hitler and others that maybe he's going to become a problem. Maybe he's going to start an SA revolt or revolution or whatever. Even like in 39 or 38, 39, after he's been around for a while, that if he pushes, not that he doesn't want a stronger role for the SA within Nazi Germany. As we've seen with the mod, the SA had a lot stronger role than is often talked about leading up to the war, because the focus shifts by historians and other people to the SS as its Nazi party enforcers. But you look at the Night of the Long Knives, there were a lot of other elements, including the police and things with carrying out the Night of the Long Knives, including the SS, but it was primarily, I really think, an 80+% SA event. So there's still and that's in 38. So there's still a significant role, and I think a daily on the street presence that when the Hitler speaks or something on the radio, everybody stands up and salutes, the right arm salute and Heil Hitler, and who isn't, and what's the problem, and who are you, and why aren't you doing this? If you're an elite member of society, you could probably get away with not doing that. If you're, a traditionalist, nationalist, aristocrat or something, they're not going to touch you or beat you up if you're sort of that. But if you're somebody else, it might not quite be, if you don't do that, we're going to beat you up, but it's a lot of sort of peer pressure and intimidation, and they were doing that on a daily basis throughout this period. Now, as the war, before the war starts, starting in 38, 39, much more of the manpower of the SA is reduced and shifted into the armed forces, not just the army. It's the Luftwaffe, the Navy as well. As it should be to have a unified fighting force. And most all those people technically were still a member in their SA unit too, sort of, but they weren't sort of inactive SA. Now, I'm still can't remember, and I should probably look him up, but the guy who takes over after Victor's death, he really starts to push back within the Nazi hierarchy for a role for the SA. Push back significantly. I don't know how much that has to do with, because I've sort of read the opposite. The Horst Wessel division within the SS was an attempt to attract former SA members into the Waffen-SS, and from what I've read, it's primarily an SS effort that basically fails miserably. They end up bringing on a lot of foreigners into the Horst Wessel division. Now, maybe mostly Volksdeutsch, Germans from outside of Germany, as opposed to bringing, I don't know, Italians or Eastern Europeans into it. It's more of, I think, more of a Germans from Hungary, Romania, other places that were brought in to fill up the manpower on it, because a lot of the SA members didn't really want to join up there. And a lot of us, study know that about the SS, this was going to be their sort of expansion area. They were going to settle on farms and be overseers to the remaining population of the Slavs, and all of this stuff was their sort of vision that they were putting out for the SS. Well, the SA was starting to push back against that. And one of the significant elements to that was the field Herrenhalle, the 60th Division, really sort of tying into the SA tradition on that. And trying to get a combat role for the SA, not as an independent organization, which they did have, and we've seen dealing initially at first with the Sudeten crisis, and then mostly the Sudeten SA and a few other the SA types in Danzig fighting for the Polish war. And they did have, like, and we talked about reserve duties for on the Western Front if things started to go wrong and they were going to be called up for that. But by the time you're getting into late 40, 41, there was going to be no SA role as an SA organization in combat in the front. So I think his name starts with an S, but I'm blanking on it still. I should look it up. Instead of trying to create, SA divisions to send to the front or something, it was to try to concentrate the SA in a few divisions within the Army, to have them wearing Army uniforms, being part of the Army with Army officers, but try to have a fair number of them politically SA people. So instead of traditionalists or nationalists, they were going to be, National Socialist SA types, so that the SA would have a role in winning the war, if you will. And so that the SA not just is dispersed personnel serving in various, ground crew at some air base here, some of the Marine SA serving on ships and submarines over there, and, spread manpower throughout everywhere in the Army, to have a tradition, if you will, that, oh, we were part of this division that won this battle, to harken back. So in the post-war world, the SA could come back as a mass organization for men that was politically, like we've seen in other communist countries, a political militia, an intimidation force, all of that stuff, and so that the SS would be the elite force, if you will, but a real role for a more mass SA role. So that's what was they're looking up, and that's where the traditions were really being pushed and changed, and it only started happening after Victor Luntz's death. So since he hasn't died, and this now the death event is, so I think I've coded that in. Man, if I, yeah, I think I did. Let's send these guys back over here. Thought I did, but, and I don't know the date on it. Maybe it'll appear here in the next episode because we're running out of time for this episode. But theoretically, the field Herrenhalle shouldn't happen until after that, but it's no big deal. It's about this time. So, can't you make it here? Is there no way to walk, or they, oh, they're British at sea. Okay, so yeah, you can transfer over here, but there's British ships there, so, which we're finding there. Okay, that's why they can't. So, thanks for viewing. Thanks for liking the videos. Do appreciate it. Please post your comments. Love hearing from you. See you next time.